ሰላም ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰንብታችኋል እንግዲህ ካለፈው ሳምንት ቀጥለን የዛሬ ፕሮግራማችን ደግሞ የሚሆነው እንደዚሁ በሰባተኛው ዓመታዊ Empower the Community Weekend ላይ ከቀረቡት Power Panel Discussion ሶስተኛው Young Trailblazers የሚለው ነው ይዘንላችሁ ምን ቀርበው ይሄ እንግዲህ እድሜያቸው ከ40 ዓመት በታች የሆኑ በተለያዩ የሥራ መስክ ላይ የተሰማሩ ስኬታማ የሆኑ ወጣቶችን ትልልቅ ኃላፊነት ላይ ያሉ ወጣቶችን ይዘንላችሁ ነው ምን ቀርበው ውይይቱ እንግዲህ ስለ ስራ ተመክሯቸው እዚህ ቦታ ላይ እንዴት እንደደረሱ ለወጣቶች የሚያካፍሉት ቆይታ ይሆናል ማለት ነው እንግዲህ ይሄ ፕሮግራም የሚዘጋጀው አሜሪካን ሀገር ነው እድምተኞቻችን ከተለያየ ሀገር የሚመጡ ስለሆኑ ሁሉንም ሰው አኮሞዴት ለማድረግ ቆይታው በእንግሊዝኛ ይሆናል ማለት ነው ወደ ፕሮግራሙ ልሰዳችሁ
I'm going to ask Naya, one of our sponsors with Kafata. Naya Alamayo is a real estate broker here in the DMV area. She's the head of U.S. operations for Rockstone Ethiopia, the developer behind Kafata. It's an amazing building. Come on up, Naya, and introduce our speakers.
Thank you, thank you. So if you haven't heard of Kafata before, here's a sneak peek about what we're doing in the Signal neighborhood of Addis Ababa. We're building a 105-unit condo building that just won the International Property Awards for the best residential building in the whole of Africa. We have a table there with Marty hosting. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. But let's get to the good part of announcing who will be joining us on stage. Abai Schultz, founder and creative director of ZAF, will be moderating the panel on breaking barriers. Absalam Mengestab, chief information officer at the DC Department of Human Resources. Daniel Artin, VP strategic partnership at Boost Payment Solutions. And Elias Yassin, CEO of KSC Consulting Group. Welcome on stage.
Hi everyone, I'm Abai Schultz and I am so excited to have a conversation with these young professionals and the brief interaction I had with them, I'm actually quite inspired by them, so I hope they'll bring in value to your life as well. And so I want you guys to just give us a snippet of your bio of where you were born and the cities you lived in, because I know some of you guys are just like all over the place, which is interesting to me. And what you had for breakfast this morning.
All right, good.
Ladies first.
Sure. Good afternoon, salam. My name is Absalam Mengestab. I'm the Chief Information Officer for DC Department of Human Resources. Let's see. I was born in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and I grew up in Dubai, UAE. So I was 10 years old when we moved from Ethiopia to Dubai, UAE, and from there moved to the US for college, so about 15 years ago. And so I've lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, Arlington, Virginia, and now I am in Alexandria, Virginia. And as far as what I had for breakfast, I know you tricked me. I remember a lot of things, but not food, so I think I had an egg sandwich with coffee, so right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Artin. I'm a first-generation Ethiopian American, born here in Maryland. I've lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and I currently reside in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a vice president of strategic partnerships at Boost Payment Solutions. We're a global B2B fintech. We essentially have a payment processing technology that allows multinational corporations and enterprises to pay one another in a seamless, automated way. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, Helen, for hosting, and I just came in from Moynihan Station to Union Station, so I had a very cold and unsatisfying bagel this morning, but I'm here and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Awesome. My name is Elias. I'm the CEO of KSC Consulting Group. Was born in DC, grew up in Saudi and Ethiopia. I came back here back in 2005. Went to college, I got my degree in biology or in chemistry. Complete transition over to cybersecurity. So, yeah, I'm here now. Breakfast, actually I was fasting this morning, so.
You're fasting, okay.
This morning,
all right. So my first question is for Afsala. So you're served as Chief Information Officer at the DC Department of Human Resources. So being in this space, I know you also worked in the technology aspect of it. As the world moves into the fourth industrial revolution, you know, the AI and Internet of all things, how I guess many African countries are still not producing or importing advanced digital production technology. So we know the beneficial of it. So how do we negotiate between adaptation of these technologies that we can capture quickly the potential growth that it can bring in, but at the same time the potential that it has of progress that can take place at the expense of vulnerable population? And I know this is also a conversation here in the US as well with, you know, OpenAI.
Yeah, that is a loaded question. So for the first part of it now, as far as, you know, bringing technology and advancement and transformational change into African nations and countries, it's more so bringing exposure. I think professionals like us with the diasporas, the more work that we do and bringing exposure to our work, but then going back home and also training, right? I think when you don't have the exposure, when you don't see things, you don't necessarily know about it. So there are a lot of organizations doing great work in Africa, and I mean specifically even in Ethiopia, but as far as the advancement of it, sometimes the resource is missing, or sometimes they just do not know. So I think bringing exposure, but then also bringing forth the resources in order to empower the workforce and also the organizations would be great. As far as the ethical of AI, that's something even within the US, like you said, it's still very early onset, and that's still being worked on, right? So I think it's something we're discovering as we move forward. So as far as the humane impact, as far as the security element of it, it's still ongoing. So we're still discovering it as we move forward. So I think it's harder to say because we're discovering it, the impact internally, even within the US. So I think it's to be determined, but it's something that even within my organization, we're threading very lightly because a lot of the unknown, and then also we serve 37,000 workforce. So, you know, it's not something that we would introduce kind of just from the get-go. So we're just kind of more reserved. We have not, a lot of the Gen AIs we have not introduced within our agency and even within the district workforce because of the unknown.
So, all right, okay. Thank you for that. So Daniel, then you're the fintech guy. So between 2020 and 2021, there's a number of tech startups that tripled in Africa just within that time frame. And almost 50% was going into fintech in particular. And so obviously there's a benefit to that, creating jobs opportunities. But I noticed most of this investment is going into very few African countries, you know, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria. Ethiopia is lagging big time. And so my question for you is that, in your opinion, what are these emerging trends or opportunities in your industry that young professionals in Ethiopia currently should be aware of, and how can they position themselves to take advantage of these trends and excel in their careers?
Yeah, great question. So for those who don't know, FinTech is an acronym that is basically finance and technology combined. So you're allowing different type of technology that can help with credit scores, help with payments, help with automation, insurance, the whole gamut of the financial services basically being immersed in new technology. To your question, one of the things that excites me the most about FinTech today is access. So right now you have a lot of people who have had the benefit, mainly people that do not look like us, of being, having generations of exposure to the financial system. That means they have their credit scores already intact. That means they have enough borrowing prowess based off of their parents or based off of any type of credit that they've been introduced to. The thing I love about FinTech is that this gives inclusion and access to those that have typically been underserved within the financial services community. So you see a lot of exciting tech startups that are out there today that are not just raising the next unicorn, but are also democratizing financial access to people. And there's no better place than we're seeing that now than in Africa. And you know, also none of it is novel as well.
Yeah.
If you take concepts like Uber or you take concepts like Venmo or Cash App, that is just being introduced within our communities in Africa. So it's not that you have to come up with the next bright idea, but it's about taking what actually works and letting our people benefit from that today. So very exciting stuff. I consider it one of the hottest tech new industries that are out there today. I encourage a lot of people to explore it, along with cybersecurity and information technology. I think they're really great entry points and great career paths if you're interested.
All right, thank you.
We have a special, very special treat now. The fabulous, Grammy-nominated artist, writer, performer, actress, Miss Wayna is here to perform for us. I'm super excited. I love her. She's amazing. She's fabulous. We're going to enjoy Wayna. Come on up, beautiful. Oh, let me please.
Hey everybody, I hope you're feeling great. It's a pleasure to be here.
You scheming all the while believing that you seem the best to me. But if you need a reason to believe this is my destiny, please step to me. I'm not afraid of others testing me. Realign my soul, now my Father won't stop blessing me. The rest of me is catching up to the best of me. The chemistry is a recipe for making history. Cause lyrically, I'll be Layla Ali. Molly meets Diana, meets a little Marley. Hardly an imitator since I found my sound. Feet on the ground, plus a whole country holding me down. But I don't count that. Got everything to prove and I'm about that. Regardless of rank, I'm dreaming bigger than tanks, bigger than the skyscrapers, bigger than me with no Spanx. Bigger than anything I dreamed to be for my 2 baby girls. 40 hours in labor and no epidural after that. What do I ever have to fear in this world? Not that, not this, not you, not me. Greatness is calling and this time it's talking to me. Greatness is calling and this time it's talking to you. Greatness is calling and this time it's talking to we. Man, it's 2023. Empower the community. HELENSHOW, EBS. Be anything you wanna be.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል። እየተመለከታችሁት ያላችሁት በሰባተኛው ዓመታዊ Empower the Community Weekend ላይ ከቀረቡት ፓነል ዲስከሽኖች Young Trailblazers የሚለውን ነው። እስቲ ወደዛ ልውሰዳችሁና ፕሮግራሙን እንቀጥላለን።
Elias, you have an interesting background of living in the Middle East and Ethiopia and then back here. So what is your relationship now currently in Ethiopia in terms of work? Any exciting projects that you're doing or maybe future plans? So please let us know.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I love what you're doing, by the way. That's pretty awesome. We're big into fintech as well. So some of the things that we're working on right now and we're trying to implement in Ethiopia is we really want to take cybersecurity and implement it in Ethiopia. The goal here is to go there and train as many people as possible. There's a lot of intelligent-minded people there. They're super smart. They know exactly what they're doing. The problem is there's so much education happening in the wrong side of technology. Right now in Ethiopia, there's 5G infrastructure already lined up, which is insane, but amazing. So I was back home back in May of last year, and what I've seen is there's a lot of folks who are really involved in fintech. They're really involved in technology, software engineering. And what we're really focused on right now is we want to get training going back home in Ethiopia, especially in Addis Ababa. The goal is to have targeted cybersecurity training. It could be in pen testing, which is like ethical computer hacking, doing SOC monitoring, right? Having a security operations center, right? Monitoring networks. And I know we're working with a partner there where we're trying to lay down the pipeline of having targeted cybersecurity training and actually develop a workforce there and develop a whole job market and actually increase the financial market.
So is this for the market there, or are they trying to become also like export their talent?
So both. So the goal is to have Addis Ababa to be Silicon Valley, right? A better Silicon Valley. And on top of that, also have the Ethiopian cybersecurity workforce also do work outside of Ethiopia as well. Just like how the Indian population is doing in India, why can we not do it in Ethiopia as well?
Thank you. Absolutely. So what inspires you to pursue your chosen path career, and how did you overcome if you had any obstacles? And I'm sure it was not always smooth sailing.
Yeah, it was definitely not. So I attended University of Maryland for my undergrad, and I actually was a pre-dentistry, a public health major.
Okay.
And I had it set out, you know, just moved here for college, so I wanted to be a dentist. Well, my parents wanted me to be a dentist, so somehow it had been ingrained in my brain that I wanted to be a dentist too. And a little into my sophomore year, it was just not for me. But I still wanted to stay within the healthcare system. I wanted to pursue international development. So that was my next path. And I graduated from University of Maryland in public health, and actually started a career working at an Association Public Health. So it's a nonprofit organization. And within that, I quickly realized that public health was not really for me. I was just not getting the satisfaction of development as far as growth within my career. And so that was a quick pivot that I had to do. And I've always been into technology, so, you know, as any immigrant, first generation. So I was always known as the tech support within my family. And my family always made fun of me as far as like, if you give me something, I will figure it out. I mean, coding is not my thing, but as far as just figuring out something wrong with a machine, I can. If it takes me a week, I will do it. And so I was always curious about that, but not really a career that I wanted to pursue. And during that nudge of kind of unknown, I started assisting with some of the IT work or the IT support side of my team in that association. So quickly after that, just made friends with the IT team, and they were their point of contact. And so I slowly transitioned from doing what I was doing day to day into doing more of their side as far as the tech support. And that's when I decided to pursue my master's degree. So I have my master's degree in management information systems. And that really helped kind of the trajectory of my career and to develop better as far as what I wanted to do within IT. So I've done a lot of the IT project management, business analyst roles. And so that was really what helped pivot from healthcare into IT. Now, as far as the challenges, there are so many challenges that you face as an immigrant, as a Black female, but it was more so, you know, in the beginning, I was saying that when you go into a room and you're the only one, then it would be more of an obstacle. But it was more so seeing that kind of obstacle as an advantage, because you bring a perspective that is like no other. And despite it being more of a challenge and ongoing basis, I think that's probably more of what I've had to overcome. So I think just having that cultural fit, and then also the gender fit, because now Women in Tech is a very big campaign that you see everywhere, which I'm absolutely excited about, and that's something I'm very passionate about. But, you know, when I first started, a lot of the IT teams were men, right? And if they're men, they either did not look like me, or, you know, if they did look like me, I couldn't really relate. So that was something that I really had to get out of my head and into, this is something that I wanted to do and pursue. So,
Daniel.
Yes.
I think it would be more or less similar. So what advice would you give young professional Ethiopians who may be facing challenges or doubts that their current career success, and how do they stay motivated?
Yeah. So sometimes I pinch myself. I love what I do. I'm in fintech. Sometimes I pinch myself because I feel like, how did I get into this field? So I'm a graduate from the University of Virginia. I got my bachelor's in foreign affairs. I was set on becoming an ambassador, and long story short, I got into consulting as a generalist. Honestly, the money was good, so I was just trying to like figure it out. And there was a vacancy at my company for a department called fintech and payments. I knew nothing about it other than I was going to get a salary increase by going that route. And about 3 months into it, I started studying and learning about the payments industry, about PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, how they make money, how their business models work. And my job essentially at the time was to host TED Talks with former industry experts about their ins and outs and key learnings that they had in the space. So in New York, we would rent out a restaurant, and I'd be hosting dinners with the former president of MasterCard, the former CFO of the World Bank, the former president of PayPal, basically talking to me and talking to investors about what the evolution of this space is going to be. And I fell in love. I found myself going home on the subway ride back to Brooklyn, reading about this space, not just for work, but because I was truly passionate about this industry. So about 4 years into the consulting, I got tired of being on the periphery, and I wanted to jump head first into one of these companies that I keep reading about. And so I tapped one of my mentors. He guided me towards a bunch of introductions towards companies, and eventually I landed at Boost Payment Solutions. And you know, I'll answer the question about some of the challenges, but right now I am the only black person, not just black male, black person that's at the VP level and above within my company. So one of the challenges I face on a daily basis is I'm sitting in a boardroom filled with middle-aged white men, and you know, I get imposter syndrome. So sometimes you have self-doubt as to whether or not you should be at the table, whether or not you're deserving. And one of the things that like I had to overcome was when I've interacted with these people, I just realized they're human beings just like us. This idea that because people are at the C-suite level, or they're at you know, management or an executive, that they somehow got it all figured out, and that's far from the truth. Most importantly, those people are the ones that have zero clue about what's going on. So, you know, that gave me assurance to curb that doubt that I was having. And what it allowed me to do was accept that I don't know everything, but if I ask the right questions, if I'm diligent in my approach, and I give work that to me seems intentional, on my journey towards discovering what I don't know, I'm positioning myself to get the most effective learning experience on that journey. So that's one of the key things, one of the key challenges that I had. And I'll also say fear of failure was real. You know, I grew up, I'm sure everyone sitting at this panel right now, we consider ourselves to be perfectionists. So sometimes walking into a dark room, taking on a new responsibility, or managing people that you don't know is something that you fear because it's new. And I love this quote that says, you know, more dreams are killed by doubt than failure. More dreams are killed by doubt than failure. So oftentimes, you not even going about and taking a venture and doing what you think that you want to do in your subconscious often is worse than failing. Every successful person that is an executive, C-suite, Elon Musk, all the people that we read about, they're just people that have failed more times than the average human being. So I would say those are the two key lessons that I've learned. And, you know, I think choosing a path that you are passionate about makes what you're doing now work. It makes what you're doing more of a growth project for yourself.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Elias, what motivated you to start your own business? And what advice would you give to parents, especially Ethiopian parents who culturally we like their traditional career of doctor, lawyer, and so forth. And when their child is expressing to start something that takes risk, what advice would you give them? Potential parents that are out here listening.
You're trying to set me up.
Yes.
It's okay. So there's one thing I believe is that no one deserves anything. You earn what you work for, okay? And I started my business because I believe that I can actually help other people. I never want to give anybody the help. When I say provide help is you want to, what they say is teach a man how to fish, give him fish, right? No. The first thing I want to do, the advice I want to give to young, and when I say young, anybody who's 100 and younger is young to me. So unless you're over 100, anybody who is really trying to get into the business of any sort, any kind, you really have to have a plan first, right? It doesn't matter what the process is, because the process itself, it needs to be fun. The end goal is just the end goal. The reason why I started this business is because I have 3 kids. I have Elijah, Layla, and Zoe, right? They're 7, 8, and 10. And I have my beautiful wife, Rainice, right? Having a support system is so, so important. Having a goal is very important, but you have to ensure you have to enjoy the process. Nobody cares if you fail. The only person who should care if you fail is you, because you have to use that failure as an opportunity to teach and learn to push forward. When I do my work or whatever I do in life, I do it to purposefully fail. And it sounds crazy, but I do it because if you don't do it to purposefully fail, it means you haven't given all. That's my belief, and I live by it. Listen, me and my family, we used to be with social services. We used to be on food stamps, right? And I understand what it is to go through to struggle, right? And I'm not saying I'm the only one to go. A lot of folks go through it. It's nothing new. But it's very important that you take that challenge, right, and push forward. I never want to look backward, right? You never want to look back. You just keep push forward. Now, when it comes to the traditional, the question you try to set me up with, I don't believe in college. I do not want my kids to go to college. For me, college is overrated. Why do I say that? I went to college, got my degree in biology, minored in chemistry. Went to apply to medical school, got accepted. 3 weeks later, I said, I don't want to do it, because I would have been in school for another 12 years, which didn't make any sense. I have friends who are doctors. They just finished paying off their student debt after 7, 8 years. Okay, so with my kids, right, my beautiful wife, she homeschools the kids. I call her, she's the mad scientist, right? She knows how to teach. I'm just a substitute teacher, right? With my kids, they're homeschooled. They've never been to school, right? And the goal that I have for them is I want them to understand that you should go to college only if you want to, not if you need it. Because there's so many opportunities out there that we can pursue, from cybersecurity, from fintech, right? You don't have to be a PhD, mastered black belt to go into finance, right? As long as you understand numbers, you can be in finance, right? That's the reason why he's there working with all those folks, because he's probably the smartest guy there, because he understands numbers. So for me, my advice is, if you have a dream, pursue your dream, but make sure the dream that you're chasing makes sense, right? If you have a passion, go with your passion, it's fine. Make sure your passion makes sense, right? You gotta have a goal. Your goal should not be to make money. Your goal should be to have a legacy. Because if you die, your money ain't coming
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል እየተመለከታችሁት ያላችሁት በሰባተኛው ዓመታዊ Empower the Community Weekend ላይ ከቀረቡት ፓነል ዲስከሽኖች Young Trailblazers የሚለው ነው እስቲ ወደዛ ልውሰዳችሁና ፕሮግራሙን እንቀጥላለን
Going back to the homeschooling your kids what motivated you to homeschool them and what are the benefits I myself I did homeschool for a couple of years so I'm interested to know what's your reason.
At the beginning, I was against homeschooling. My wife, she had this plan where she wanted to teach the kids the right way. Because when you go into schools, I have nothing against schools. The teachers should be the highest paid profession, period, right? Her belief was that she wanted to teach the kids the things that she believed actually make sense, like in math, science, history, right? And Black history is not just the MLKs, the Malcolm X's. There's a lot more to Black history, right? Also understanding the different, geography, whatever the situation is. My daughter, Zoe, she's 10 years old, and she literally reads 2 books at the same time. So, my son is 7. I actually set up a little office, a little desk with me, and he's going to be conducting vulnerability scans with me actually at home. So, when my kids turn 18, I want them to have options, right? You can have the option to go to college, right? Which I can't wait till they turn 18 so they can leave my house, but that's another story. They should have options where they can go to work, make some money, and go back to college. But if they go to college, or they can go to college, do what they want to do and leave as well, but it needs to be an option. College should not be a necessity.
Thank you. Absala, so what are your success habits? I think I genuinely believe that your daily habits makes of you, and so tell us the things that helps you in your career or just even life holistically.
Let's see. Waking up early in the morning is kind of like the cliche answer, but that's something that I try to hold consistent, but not always consistent. But I think just starting out your day, there's a book, The 5 a.m. Club, which I read a couple of years ago, and that's been life-changing. To be able to wake up and just know that you're starting out your day before everyone else just gives you a different level of accomplishment than, most. And the other thing is just I stay curious, right? And that helps me with just my personal life as well as my professional life. Now, staying curious is not necessarily a habit, but I try to incorporate, right? Whether it's in my conversations or interactions or whatever the case is. But I try to host that every single day at the end of the day and try to reflect as far as like things that I've learned. The other thing would just be making a list. I try to write as much as possible. Even though I'm in tech and we're trying to go green and all of that, if paper is not good, I try to write down. And there's a different level of power that when you're thinking about it and being able to document that and writing and not necessarily typing it out is a different level of and almost a manifestation that you can do, right? Because it's you think about it, but then you write it down. So every morning I try to make a list, whether it's in the morning before I leave my house, but if not at work, I'm known for my notepads to a point that they stock it before I'm like done with my stock of pads. But I try to write down as much as possible, and that really helps me as far as just holding myself accountable, but then also to be able to see that in writing as a different level of recognition for myself too.
Thank you. So success to you may not be the same to someone else or to me. So one, how do you define success, and when did you consider yourself as a success?
I define success as being fulfilled. So for me, I have certain principles that I try to live my life by. A few of them are being as professional and, giving my best when it comes to anything that is an output of Daniel. So whether that be work, relationships, sports, I need to know that my integrity as a person, and when I look myself in the mirror before I go to sleep every night, that I gave it my all, and I have to live by that. There's a quote that I read when I was younger that says, think of yourself as the CEO of your own life. And would you hire yourself? So it's a tough question, because you have to have a self-reflection, but a brutal honesty at the end of the day towards what you're giving out. And I can't honestly say that I'll hire myself every single time, because, you know, I may procrastinate some days, or I may do this, but it at least is something that allows me to constantly realign whenever I feel off. Fulfillment to me, spiritually, is being there for my family. I'm thankful that I have members of my family here today that, without even asking, came out and supported me. And to me, that's my everything. So whether it be, you know, after a rough day or on a daily basis, calling my parents to check in on them, even though I live, you know, a couple hundred miles away, checking in on my younger cousins and siblings. To me, that is a definition of success, because I can't go out in the world, despite however much money I make or whatever I may go on and to do, without recognizing that it's because of them that I'm here today. So I have to feel fulfilled in that way. And then, you know, to what you were saying earlier, from a physical standpoint, health is wealth. I truly believe that. So whether it's waking up early or having a diet or even a physical routine or regimen so that I can actually be the best version of myself, that's another definition of success. So I look at it through different lenses, but overarching is fulfillment for me.
Thank you. Elias, what role does continuous learning or personal development in shaping successful career? What are some of the practical of like young professionals back home could enhance their skills or not stay competitive in the job market?
The most important thing that you have to do to be successful is you have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. I have an amazing people that I work with. My business partners, Cameron Evans and Solomon Ogieva. And we have our newest addition, we have Samuel as well, Samuel Osi. It's so important to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because what happens is when you have people that are smarter than you, it forces you to be smart because you don't want to be left behind. It's very, very important that you also develop a regimen, right? Whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, you need to have a regimen. Why? Because that's discipline. Surround yourself with around smart people. Develop some kind of regimen, right? You have to be, you know, I don't want to sound cliche, you know, because you always hear, you can do it, you can do it, you can do what? You know what I mean? Like, what are you saying? Do what? You have to really develop a regimen in order for you to really do what you want to do. You know, if you want to make $1 million, if you want to make $1 billion, right? You have to be obsessed with what you're doing, right? And you have to understand that you have to sacrifice a few things. Like with me, what I have done in my life, I have sacrificed, you know, family time, right? I know with my wife and my kids, there's so much time that have went by, but it was necessary for me to do that in order for me to succeed in what I want to do. And what I want to say to the young folks in Ethiopia or even here is that just pick what you want to do. Be obsessed with the process, right? If you don't know something, ask. You know, one of the biggest things that really holds people back, you know, especially men, right, is ego. We have so much pride, so much ego that no, this person doesn't know more than me, or if he does, I don't want to let him know that he knows more than me. You gotta get your pride aside. You gotta get your ego aside, right? From, you know, my wife, she always gives me advice. She always tells me what to do. Do I fight with her and we yell at each other? Of course we do. I mean, what kind of marriage would that be if you don't? So, But, you know, my other partner, you know, business partner, Cameron Evans, you know, she's the one also who really pushes me to the next level, right? Because she, you know, I literally call her the mad scientist, the Elon Musk, because she always have these ideas that she believes that could be done, right? But it sounds crazy, but it's not, because we as humans, we really can accomplish a lot. But in order for us to, like folks, you know, young folks in Ethiopia, you know, opportunity here is much more accessible than over there. So if we really about that life and really want to help and, you know, guide our younger brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, we have to go there and give them an opportunity. We cannot sit here and act like it's all apples and oranges and mangoes, you know what I mean, and expect things to be okay by just speaking on the mic. We have to actually go there and do something about it. It's not always just about talking and talking. Just do something about it. And that's what we're doing. We've opened up our office in Atlanta. We're opening up our office in Ethiopia. We're working on opening up our office in Florida as well. I'm not saying this just to say, oh, we're getting big. I'm saying this because we're actually putting in the work, right? And it's very, very necessary to work, again, with, you know, be a conglomerate. If you have other businesses that you believe you can work with and grow, call that person. When we're done here, well, I'm going to call him, because there's a lot of things we're going to work on. I'm going to call her too, because I know there's a lot of things we can work on. Not just here, even back home in Ethiopia as well.
Thank you. Excellent. Absolutely. So I think this is actually for all of you guys. How much of it is your success, do you think is like luck, versus how much of it of your hard work, your decisions that you've been making? You know, there's a saying where we're born looking like our parents, then we die looking like our choices that we made. And so how much of it do you guys give a contribution to your success, of luck, opportunities, versus your hard work?
So I don't know if I think of my success or where I am in life as luck, but rather timing. It might be, but more so I think it's the perseverance of it, right? Part of my growth was a lot of accepting and acknowledging the success that I've had, and recognizing myself for it. And as women, especially, you know, the Habesha culture is very much on humility. We're taught to be humble. Don't talk about yourself, or don't, you know, you're just showing off like that. But that's not necessarily it, right? I worked hard for it, and I am here because I worked hard. So I don't necessarily account the luck piece. Maybe there might be some timing that worked out between my effort and the positions or the people that I've met to connect me to the positions. However, I don't necessarily account it to luck. But as far as a lot of the characteristics and things that were brought up, as far as the resilience and, you know, not being afraid to fail, all of that is part of the hard work. And so I think each of our life failure is one thing that's promised, and our resilience is not always. So it's up to us to be resilient, and I think a lot of it is on that and the hard work that we put in more than the luck. So I would say maybe the 1% can be the luck, but 99% is definitely the hard work.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከረፍት ቆይታችን ተመልሰናል። እየተመለከታችሁት ያላችሁት በሰባተኛው ዓመታዊ Empower the Community Weekend ላይ ከቀረቡት ፓነል ዲስከሽኖች Young Trailblazers የሚለውን ነው። እስቲ ወደዛ ልውሰዳችሁና ፕሮግራሙን እንቀጥላለን።
All right, Daniel, please stay here.
I am the opposite. 80% luck, 20% hard work. I'll tell you why I said that. So I think speaking to the 20%, I don't know if it's our culture, but like I always thought that in order for you to be successful, you have to be the hardest worker, which in my career is farthest from the truth. I started off with this like gombaspa mentality of like first person in, last person to leave. If there's a task that's at hand, I have to do it. And I quickly learned that I was burning myself out, that I was compromising my happiness, which ultimately was almost, you know, it was cyclical in the sense that as much as work that I put in, it ended up pushing me right back to whatever place that I was at. I wasn't able to have sustainable growth with that mindset. So now what about the 80% luck? The 80% luck to me is, you know, the epitome of it is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I'll be the first person to say that I am not the smartest person in the room, in the rooms that I'm in. But what I learned, especially in college, is how to network and how to network the right way. So a lot of times my initial thought about networking was that it had to be transactional. I'm meeting this person and shaking their hand and this person's gonna do something for me. Instead of it actually building a relationship with that person, which may never yield anything at all, but at least you're building genuine connections. And I can honestly say that every step in my career has either been directly pushed to me or influenced by a mentor or somebody that I've put in my network. And that's because, to your point about resiliency, once you're in my network, I'm gonna treat you like a true mentor. I'm buying you, because I know you like wine, I'm buying you a bottle of wine to be delivered to your house for Christmas. I'm calling to ask how little Sarah just did on her PSAT. It's all about building that relationship. And all of a sudden you start to have a network effect where that person who you're considering your mentor, their network is now shared with you. And then that is manifested and so forth and so forth. So really the opportunities can be boundless if, I don't want to call it gaming a system, but if you play those cards correctly, you can go anywhere, really. So for me, I guess you can consider it luck, but it's more so, that thing clicked in my mind at an early age, and I'm continuously benefiting from that behavior. I will never let go of the hard work. It's just that instead of putting in 12, 15, 16-hour weeks, now my number one job is just to get things done. Whenever I'm assigned with something, I never compromise on my ability to come back to my manager or whomever with the job being done. It shows that I'm resourceful, it shows that I'm inquisitive, it shows that I'm dependable. But I don't need to do that the hard way, I can do that the smart way, so.
Interesting, very different answers. Elias.
Well, for me, it's 100% luck. Why do you say that? For me, the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you have been working your butt off and you have been preparing and doing the hard work constantly, hard work is so important, because when you're working very hard and actually showing results with your hard work, the opportunities will come knocking. So I always say I am 100% lucky because my preparation for what I needed to do, met the opportunity, right? I was preparing, and the opportunity was cybersecurity, right? From cybersecurity came product development, came training and cybersecurity training, right? And then I surrounded myself with smart people that always helped me and pushed me to the next level. I do agree with him, right? I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I never want to be the smartest guy in the room, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're not going to grow, because you're not going to learn from anybody. You have to get rid of ego. You have to get rid of pride, right? That does not get you anywhere. I mean, even God don't like ego and pride. So You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't want to go on this soliloquy, but what I do want to say is it's okay to be 100% lucky, because when you're lucky, it means you have been preparing all your life for this opportunity. You know what I mean? And when you want to do something, just go do it. If you fail, it's okay. Nobody cares if you fail, right? They're going to talk about you now and they're going to forget about you the next day. But if you are successful, people are going to come out of the woodwork and going to ask you, how did you do it? How did you do it? So don't give a handout. Just help that person by showing them how it can be done. Show them how to fish, and don't give them fish. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. I would like to open some questions that the audience can ask.
My question is, what advice do you give to people who are trying to transition into the tech industry?
To be honest, what I would do if I was you, I'll do my research and see, you know, there's a lot of questionnaires that you can take. What that does is it allows you to see where you are, what's your ability. You can be a technical, right, in a technical field, meaning you can be a penetration tester, or you can be a person who is doing compliance, right? So for me is you definitely have to go out and do some research and see exactly what you want to do. But if I was you, I will really look into cybersecurity and look into compliance, because right now, especially in the United States, compliance is the biggest thing out there right now when it comes to going to the cybersecurity field.
I would add one thing. I'm specifically speaking within the fintech space. You benefit by having a hard skill set. So it's such an ambiguous industry, even within my space, within payments, it's such a broad space. So first, figure out which area within payments or within tech you want to jump into, specifically role-based. So there's product managers, there's software engineers that do coding, there's marketing, there's corporate strategy. First, figure out what it is that your department that you want to get into. And then there are tons of different online courses. Khan Academy is free. There's General Assembly, which is becoming wildly popular for people that want to learn how to code in 6 months. You can be, you know, graduating into some of the top tech companies that are out there. And then going to the networking side, there are tons of conferences, both virtual and in person, that I would say is worth spending the money to. Honestly, blindly reaching out on LinkedIn as well. I have a lot of young Abisha kids that will reach out to me on LinkedIn. Maybe they've heard a podcast that I was on, or they've seen me at a conference, and just will reach out and want to connect and want to talk. And then you never know where that can manifest too. So a little bit of combination of finding out what it is you want to do, and then going out there and networking.
So I just wanted to add as far as identifying, because I think breaking into tech has become such a cliche type of term, because the tech industry is so broad, and there are a lot of technical things that you can do, but then if you don't like the coding, then there are a lot of other roles within tech that you can do. So I think first and foremost, like you mentioned, is identifying exactly what part of tech that you would like to get into. But then the second part also mentioned is that network piece, as far as just who you surround with, or it's not necessarily the person that you know immediately. That might be an extended person. LinkedIn is a great resource, but then even other means of social media, just expose yourself to those individuals and have conversations. I mean, that would be your best bet, because you're then getting additional information firsthand from those individuals that are in the roles, as far as the pros and cons of those. And then other ways are mentorship. And then I know within DC government, especially if you are a young professional or still in school, there's a district leadership program that is fantastic that matches you with different agencies. It's a paid internship program. And then if you're also in district residence, there's apprenticeship programs that are within the IT field and other fields as well that you can get into. But there are a lot of resources out there, and putting yourself in front of those individuals and understanding and gaining that information is the first part, because if you go ahead and take a boot camp and then come back and realize, oh no, this is not really for me. So doing firsthand research is basically what I would advise as well.
Thank you so much, you guys. You were fantastic answering all my questions. I appreciate it. And what would be the best way to, if somebody wants to reach out to you guys?
I get a lot of emails, both to my work email as well as on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is probably my most preferred way to get contacted. And I do read all my LinkedIn messages, even the promotional ones. But what I kind of see before I even respond is more so what I alluded to earlier as far as, you know, doing research or information that you're providing me to show that you are actually passionate about it and you're not really looking for a handoff of a position. Because, you know, I mean, I love supporting, you know, our community and definitely stand for that. However, if you're reaching out and saying, oh, I need a job, get me a job, then it's very likely that you will not hear a response from me. So just to show your, even if it's in writing, to show that, you know, you're passionate, you're pursuing whatever the field it is, and, you know, to illustrate that you have done your homework as far as kind of why you're reaching out would be preferred. But for professional realms, I would say LinkedIn is the best route to reach out.
I would agree. LinkedIn, Daniel Artin is my full name. So you can look me up at Boost Payment Solutions. My name should come up. My personal email is dan.artin@gmail.com. I'm pretty good at cleaning my inbox. I would say just being genuine. Like, hey, Daniel, I'm interested in getting into fintech. I don't know what I don't know, would love to reach out.
3 quick points. So the first one is, you have to understand, just because you're either family or friends or even from the same community, that does not mean you can come to somebody and say, I want to get a job. You're going to get a job, right? You have to show some kind of passion. You have to show that you're willing to put in the work. I don't care if you know the stuff. It doesn't really matter. But if you're willing to put in the work and actually achieve what needs to be achieved, trust me, somebody's going to hire you. The best way to reach out to me is to LinkedIn. It's Elias, E-L-I-A-S, Yasin. You know, don't just say, hey, like you said, hello, I'm looking for work. Can you help me, please? Just, you know, send like a quick note. Tell them who you are, what do you do, and what you're looking for, and what your passion is, and what you're doing towards that passion, towards that goal that you're trying to achieve, right? Or be old school. Literally go to the company, knock on doors, and meet the CEO face to face. By you doing that, that just shows the CEO or the company's owner, whatever the situation is, that you're willing to go above and beyond to achieve what you want to achieve. So that's all I have to say.
Hey, thank you, guys. I really appreciate this thoughtful answers. You guys, I guess, you know, enjoy yourself for this afternoon. Please clap for them.
ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ከዛሬ ፕሮግራማችን ጠቃሚ ሐሳቦችን እንደወሰዳችሁ እንተማመናለን። በሚቀጥለው ሳምንት ደግሞ የመጨረሻውና አራተኛውን ፓወር ፓነል ዲስከሽን the future of tech የሚለውን ይዘንላችሁ እንቀርባለን። እስከዛ እንግዲህ በደህና ቆዩ።